Welcome back to my workshop. Today I'm going to show you how to change a hot tub controller. Let's go. So today, as a follow-on video to my replacing the seals in my hot tub pump, today I'm going to show you how to change the controller. We ordered this, it took about a week or so to get here. And now I'm going to show you how to change it. It's a GS-100. It's for a Balboa hot tub. So what I'll do is I'll go through quickly how to change it. Right, so first thing I've got to do is assemble the tools and things I need. First things first, pair of glasses, because I can't see. Terminal pliers. Some tape, just in case we've got a label up and in the wires. A pen to write on the tape. Selection of screwdrivers. What else you got? Yeah, different screwdrivers. So you want a combination of Posi-drive or Phillips. Flat-headed screwdriver. Small electrical screwdriver. Pair of sidecars. New sidecars. See if they're any good. A DVM or a multimeter, just in case, just to make sure there's all the power's cut off. If you haven't got a big one like that, you can use one of your smaller, cheaper ones. Pick them up for nothing. Now I need some terminals because the heater, the connector on the heater is burnt, so I need to change those. I'll have to order these separately. And obviously, a controller, and then finally the two most important things: cup of coffee and a coat, because it's freezing outside. So heading off into the garden now. Oh, there's my dog. Hello, Boo. And the hot tub's in the corner of the garden, in the gazebo I built, which is made out of pallets, by the way. It's all very nice, new hanging baskets. So get all my stuff ready and then start taking it apart. So first off, the side panel just comes off, a couple of screws. Now I took a photo of this before I started taking it apart, because then if anything goes wrong, you've got something to refer to. So basically disconnecting the earth cables, the power supply, then these ones here I labelled the the temperature sensors. And then that's basically it. So you just disconnect it very quickly. When I put it back together, I'll show you a bit more detail. So now I've got the old controller and the new controller together, and it's a set of dip switches, like the little red switches you can see there, and they control things like the duration that the heater will stay on for. So arming myself with my glasses, I check to make sure the dip switches are set the same on the new one, which is on the right hand side. Make sure they're set the same as they are on the left hand side. All good. So then put it all back together. It's basically the reverse process of before. Obviously this is a little bit slower so you can see what's happening. It's only two screws that hold the body to the hot tub. For the eagle-eyed amongst you there, you'll notice I'm using completely the wrong screwdriver. It's because I was being too lazy to go back to the workshop to get the proper screwdriver. So, temperature sensors. You see I labelled that one up earlier on, T for top. Now it looks like I'm having trouble here, but the new box I've got, the actual connector is inverted on this one, so it's actually upside down. So it's just a case of flipping over the connector and then plugging it in. And there's me just checking, see why it wouldn't go in. Yeah, and up in the top right hand corner there, you can see, well, you can't really see it very clearly, but the actual connector is upside down. So second temperature sensor goes in. Now light connects, it's just a 2-pin plug, make sure it's connected securely. This one is the controller, that actually is like a telephone connector, but it actually connects to the controller. Then we've got that one, which is the pump. For people who watched the previous video, you would recognise that possibly. Now it's time to connect the main power. So obviously at all this point I've got the power turned off, disconnected. This shouldn't be too difficult to fit because obviously the wires have all been trimmed to the right size for the old controller. Just making sure there's no random stray bits of wire. Now there's a grommet there, so you must remember to take the flange off and put that onto the wire, and then struggle to get it through the little rubber grommet. It does go through, but obviously it's tight because it's waterproof. So it looks like I'm just screwing it in there, but I'm actually just moving it in. And then start connecting the wires. So this is where, if you've taken a photograph of the unit beforehand, you can refer to it to make sure you get it plugged into the right connectors. So first off, the live, which goes, I can remember this is at the bottom. Then the neutral goes in. Now this is just basically, there's just a metal clamping bar. And now the earth. Now this obviously goes to the outside because there's a buzz bar on the outside there. But that was very tight to get through because there's a little foam pad. You can just about see it there. Little tiny hole, obviously to stop moisture getting in. But obviously the wire's been there before, so it knows where to go. So just shove that through the hole, make sure it comes all the way through, and then nip up the screw. Excellent. Then tighten up the flange on the main power cable. Make sure it's tight, don't over tighten it, there's no need to over tighten it. Right, now these are two earthing straps. One of them goes off to the heater and the other one goes off to the actual motor. So these are all commoned up with the ground for the actual controller. Is that done? Make sure they're tight. Okay. Now obviously where the wires exit out of the control box, there's some cutouts from the box. Now obviously the big one is just a straight cutout, but the other ones, like the light and the control panel, they go through it's like a little zigzag of holes, and that's the reason that's there, is to actually hold them tight, to take off some of the tension. So obviously once the control box cover goes on, they're held in place. There's a little bit of foam there which is also pushed into place. Now this is the offending heater wire. You can see there it's very burnt. So this is where my the new terminals I bought come into play. Now this was obviously just to try to see if I could actually make the new controller work with the heater. I suspected that the heater was ruined, otherwise it wouldn't have burnt out so badly. So cut off the old connector, but I keep that. You notice I left a little bit of a tail of a wire on each of the connectors. That was just so I could tell, just to make sure that the orientation of the plug is okay and the colours are okay. So very gently, using a scalpel to cut the outer casing. Don't cut too far into the wires. Get your wire strippers, adjust them to the right size for the wire, and then just basically trim off the wire. And now you can put on the crimp terminals. So just checking first of all to make sure they're the right size. And these terminals, they literally just slide over the wire. You crimp onto the actual metal part of the wire, and then there's a second set of tabs which crimp around to the sleeving. That's just to give it a bit of support. So once those three are done, then it's time to put it into to the connector. Now just trimming off a tiny hair of wire that was sticking out. Again, checking the orientation of the connector. Now these just literally push in, and once they're in, there's a couple of little tangs that stop them pulling out again. So doing one at a time. Just check the wires are in the right order, and then they can be plugged in. Okay, quick check round there to make sure everything's in. Quick tighten up to make sure everything's tight. Quick check of the box to make sure there's no other little jumpers or anything that I need to put in there. Now powered on, and the hot tub goes into programming mode. There you go, goes into programming mode. Then I've got to try and remember what it all means. So what does this do? What does that do? Right, this is where it all went horribly wrong. Now I pushed this and nothing happened. There was a click and it tripped out. Now basically that was because the heater element is still ruined. So all of that putting the connector on was a waste of time. So now with the heater disconnected, check again, powered up again, just to make sure that the actual pump is working and to make sure all the lights and everything are working. And that is quite successful. So here I'm just checking to make sure there's nothing untoward going on, make sure there's no smell of burning, and make sure it goes on and off. Life's good. So now I've got to put the cover back over. On the inside of the cover there's a wiring diagram, so if you ever do get a bit confused with the wires, there's always something there to refer to. So now just make sure there's no wires are going to get trapped. Oh, there's my bald head. The cover just literally clicks on, slides down into place, and it's held in with 2 screws. I actually use the right screwdriver this time. That's that done. Now to tidy up the wires, so I've got some very small cable ties. Just basically tidy all the wires away, make sure, because obviously the hot tub will vibrate when it's in use, so you don't want any wires rubbing on anything. So cable tying them together to make sure they're all out of the way. Now this is the wire just out of shot here, it's the wire to the pump. I basically cable tied that to itself. Now that's going to lay underneath, but try not to leave it on the floor because obviously water can get in there. And put the insulation back in, just hold it briefly with a piece of tape, and then the side panel goes back on with I think it's 4 screws. These are a bit of a pain to get to line up properly, but yeah, it's all doable. Now obviously I'm not going to tighten this right up because I know I've got to get back into it to change the heater. So all in all, that was relatively successful.
So that's it. The controller's changed. The hot tub's working as far as the pump and the lights, etc. All the control side is all working okay. The only problem is my worst fears. The heater element still needs to be replaced. Now you saw during the video I changed the connectors on the end of the heater because the old one, this was a bit burnt. That had burnt the controller here. That's why we needed to replace it. Now temporarily put a new connector on, tried the heater again with the controller turned on, no, it still trips. Luckily we've got an RCD on the plug, so it just tripped that. So I've not damaged the new controller. What I have to do now is order a new heating element. I'll have to replace that. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you're not confident with electrics, don't attempt this. Pay someone a fortune to do it instead. But it's relatively simple and straightforward. You have to be logical to actually go through the process of changing it, but it's literally disconnecting and reconnecting. So I hope you found this video informative and maybe of some help to you. And hopefully next time we'll be making something else out of wood in the workshop. All right, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.